Okay. I mean, I don't have any objection to obviously it being recorded, but just for everybody's benefit on here, if somebody's planning to release this or put it on the internet or something like that, then, we're going to file a undue publicity motion. So a motion for a protective order. So I just want to be clear and put everybody on notice of that, but go ahead.
Oh, scary. Oh, shiver my timbers. Shut up, man.
Would you mind writing your name, address, and phone number?
No, we'll ask, will any of this information get released out to public?
No, that's why I'm asking you to write it on a separate sheet of paper.
Okay.
Let me make clear, what are we doing with is this being recorded, or is this just for your client's ability to view the deposition?
Both.
So is this recording, you plan to put this on the internet or something?
Are you tired of government overreach and eroded freedoms? At tac-us.org, we're fighting back. We're the Transparency Accountability Coalition, a non-profit defending your constitutional rights. No partisanship, just principle. From protecting free speech to demanding transparency, we're here for you. Visit tac-us.org to learn more and join the movement. tac-us.org, because your rights deserve a voice. Act now.
What's going on? It's Soliaker here, and I'm just going to start out. I'm not going to keep this intro long. Get popcorn, get your favorite beverage or two, because this one's going to be a little bit long. But remember that guy Joffrion that, we posted? Well, you saw the intro, and guess what? We're going to keep posting these videos and keep exposing them. And it's well deserved. So make sure you stay all the way to the end of this video, because this video is primarily of him saying, I don't recall, I don't remember, no, I show where he's lying. This guy perjured himself at this deposition, even after reviewing videos. After even reviewing the videos, he still said, nope, I don't remember. I don't recall that. Nope, I didn't say that shit. Yeah, well, stay all the way to the end. Please go over to Honor Your Oath, subscribe to him. He does amazing work. I don't know where this video came from. I just know that it fell in my lap, and here I am breaking it down for you. This video was extremely long, but I've broken down just this section. There's going to be a part 2 later. So, like I said, get your popcorn, get your favorite beverages, because you're probably going to need at least one or two. And don't forget, hit that like, share, and that subscribe button. And I'm going to get out of here. There will be links in the description. Soliaker, deuces.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give and the following clause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. And I'm going to hand you a pad, and I'd ask you to put your name, your address, and phone number on this. The reason I'm not doing it on the record is because I expect that this deposition will end up being filed with the court, and as such, it would be publicly available. I don't want you to get doxxed. So would you mind writing your name, address, and phone number?
No, we'll ask, will any of this information get released out to public?
No, that's why I'm asking you to write it on a separate sheet of paper.
Okay.
Let me make clear, what are we doing with is this being recorded, or is this just for your client's ability to view the deposition?
Both.
So is this recording, you plan to put this on the internet or something?
No, I'm not planning to put it anywhere, but I'm recording it because I'm also videotaping it, and the rules allow me to do so.
Because my thing is, I've been threatened.
Just stop. Do you have the notice that was filed?
I do not.
Do you have the notice?
I do. But more importantly, let me just point out the local rule says that I can record this.
Okay. I mean, I don't have any objection to obviously it being recorded, but just for everybody's benefit on here, if somebody's planning to release this or put it on the internet or something like that, then, we're going to file a undue publicity motion. So a motion for a protective order. So I just want to be clear and put everybody on notice of that, but go ahead.
Is it standard for you to receive calls, dispatch, instructions on a personal cell phone?
Yes, it happens.
How often does that happen?
I couldn't tell you.
How did you get this app 1021?
Downloaded it.
Did you have to create an account?
It's been so long ago, I don't recall.
Approximately how long did you work for the sheriff's department?
I'm not sure.
In the aggregate, how long have you worked at Waveland Police Department?
I'm not sure.
Is there anything that you think you could have done better?
I could have handled it a little different.
How?
Could have reworded some things.
What things?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Do you need to watch the video again?
No, I don't.
Tell me what the elements of vagrancy are.
Check to the phone.
I can't think of off the top of my head right now. I'm not.
Tell me what you recall. Tell me what you recall are the elements of the crime of vagrancy.
I can't recall. I don't know the laws by heart.
What is the crime of vagrancy?
Can't answer that right now on top of my head.
Well, you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy the moment you stepped out of your cruiser. What were you accusing him of doing?
Harassing customers.
So is vagrancy harassing?
I didn't mention that to him.
I didn't ask that. Is vagrancy harassing? Is that what you think the crime of vagrancy is? So what is the crime of vagrancy?
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
You don't know what the crime of vagrancy is, do you?
If I had that statute in front of me, I could then tell you.
Are you aware that the statute had been repealed 5 years before you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy?
Correct.
All right, so how did he commit the crime of vagrancy? How could he possibly have committed a crime that had been repealed 5 years ago that you can't even define?
I'm gonna object to the argumentative nature of these questions. I would ask you to calm down a little bit when you're asking the questions.
Do we need to watch the video?
If you want to watch it, you can. I'm not.
Well, let's watch the beginning of the video. Up to this point that we're talking about with vagrancy.
How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
Vagrancy.
Yes, sir. Got several complaints on here that you're begging for food, money, stuff like that.
That's not true.
All right. So what is vagrancy?
I'm not a lawyer.
So you did accuse him of vagrancy.
I didn't accuse him of vagrancy.
So why would you say the word vagrancy?
I don't know.
Well, who would know?
Can't answer that.
Who had you received a complaint from that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
That would be, I don't know.
You said several complaints, begging for food, money, stuff like that. Who were the several complainants?
Who knows? I don't know.
So what was your basis of your statement that there were several complaints? He was begging for food, money, and stuff like that.
Harassing customers.
What customers?
I'm not sure. Whatever's listed on the report and the statements we have.
What would those statements look like?
Witness statements, complaints.
Well, who made a witness statement? I don't have one.
I don't know.
In that report, under crime description and code section, we have 97-3-107, stalking, following, harassing, threatening.
Yes.
What are the elements of that crime?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
As we're sitting here today, articulate any of the elements of harassment.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Have you reviewed those statements from Ms. Ladner and others?
Correct.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
When did you review those?
Whenever they were obtained, I'm not sure which date or time that they were obtained.
Well, when were they obtained in relation to the writing of your report?
I'm not sure.
So you don't know if you saw them before or after the report. Did you see them before or after this videotape interaction with Mr. Gray?
I can't recall. It's been over a year ago.
You don't know if you saw the written statements of the witnesses before you got out of the cruiser and approached Mr. Gray?
I did not see the statements before then. No.
And what was the course of conduct that was considered harassing to this person that we don't know?
Whatever they stated.
But at the time, you were investigating Mr. Gray, demanding his identification for the reasonably articulable suspicion of the crime of harassment. You had no information about the course of conduct because you had not seen any of the reports.
Objection to the form.
Isn't that correct?
Repeat what you just said.
So I asked you about the course of conduct, and you said something like whatever they said. And we've already established that you had not seen any of the reports at the point that you were interacting with Mr. Gray. So how could you be investigating whatever they said when you didn't have that information?
Because of the complaint that came.
And that was routed to you from Hersey. Was there any specific information provided by Chief Investigator Hersey about the conduct that would constitute harassment?
Would be Investigator Hersey. But he did not further explain. He just stated it was harassing, peeping through windows, so on and so forth.
Well, we've got peeping through windows and harassing. That's all we've got at this point.
Harassing is a crime.
The elements of which you can't articulate now.
Not off the top of my head.
You also said that you were investigating Mr. Gray in your report for violation of Waveland City Ordinance 82-1, peddling. What constitutes the crime of peddling?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't recall.
What constitutes the elements of a violation of City Ordinance number 38?
I have no idea. Not off the top of my head. I don't recall.
Did you know on May 30th, 2023?
I don't recall either where my mind was or what I was thinking.
Well, he had explained to you that he didn't believe he was obligated to provide you with identification under the circumstances, correct?
Correct.
And he said, what was his reason that he gave you why he didn't think that he had to provide you with identification?
That's your client. I'm not sure.
No, that's not what I asked. What was the reason that he gave you?
I'm not sure. I don't recall.
All right. Let's go back to the video then.
So do you have your ID on you?
Am I required to give you ID?
Yes, you are.
What would happen if I don't give it to you?
You're going to jail. Period. Go to
Really?
jail. Yeah, really.
Sir, I'm standing on a public sidewalk engaged in constitutionally protected
Correct.
activity.
Correct. But I'm letting you know you're going to go to jail, no questions asked.
Even if I'm standing on a public
Yes,
sidewalk?
yes. How many times do I got to explain it to you?
So if I don't give you ID, I'm
Yeah,
going to
you're
jail.
going to jail for failure to identify.
Can I just leave?
If you wish to do so, but I need to identify you.
I don't wish to do so. I'd like to stay here and express my...
You're not going to stay here, period. I'm going to let you know.
Do I have to leave?
Yes,
Why?
because I'm instructing you. I'm giving you a lawful order to leave.
And if I don't leave,
You're going to jail
I'll go to jail.
for
And
failure.
you're Officer Sergeant Joffrion?
Sergeant Joffrion, Officer Andrews.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
So what did he say there to you about the identification? What was his explanation?
Something along the lines, standing on the sidewalk.
Engaged in what?
Freedom of speech. Is that what he said? I can't recall.
This guy is horrible. He just watched the video and listened to it and still doesn't recall. And it's not over. Not over by a long shot.
You said that you were entitled to ask him for identification because you reasonably suspected he had committed the crime of harassment. And I just want to make sure that there was no other crime that you suspected he might have committed.
I don't know his intentions.
I'm asking what you knew. I'm asking exclusively what you knew or suspected at the time that you approached Mr. Gray.
Stalking, harassing. So
And we don't know what City Ordinance 38 is,
I'll have to go back and look at the city ordinance book.
but right now you don't know what that is.
I don't recall.
My first question, though, is panhandling a crime?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure.
Well, you described his conduct as panhandling. What is panhandling?
I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, what were you describing in your report where you used that word?
Been over a year ago. I'm not sure. I don't recall.
Do you need to review the report to refresh your recollection?
Negative.
So even reviewing your report now, having seen the body cam video in the last 24 hours, you can't say what you were talking about with panhandling.
Can't remember. I can't recall.
And can you cite to me a policy, procedure, law, or ordinance that authorizes you to demand identification for a person you reasonably suspected, at least that's your testimony, of harassment and stalking?
I'll have to go back and look at the law book. Don't remember.
So you can't cite to me now.
Right now, off the top of my head, no.
Then you said you're going to jail for failure to identify. What ordinance or state code section is the crime of failure to identify?
There isn't one.
Right. Why would you say that you're going to jail for failure to identify?
Who knows? Oh no.
Mr. Gray said that he would like to stay there. Do you remember saying that you're not going to stay here, period? And why was Mr. Gray not permitted to stay there?
I can't recall.
Was Mr. Gray on a public sidewalk?
Yes.
Is City Hall a public property?
Yes.
Why was he not free to stay there and continue what he was doing?
I'm not sure.
But you told him that he wasn't, and now you don't know why you said it.
Correct.
What was your authority for a, quote, lawful order that he must leave the public sidewalk on the public City Hall?
Sure.
Then you told him that if he didn't leave, he was going to jail again. Do you remember saying that?
I don't recall.
You said Sergeant Joffrion advised if he did not leave, he was going to jail for disorderly conduct. What is the crime of disorderly conduct?
I don't have the law book in front of me.
Who was he disturbing?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct was he committing that was disorderly?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct did you observe that had breached the peace?
That's why I was investigating.
No. What conduct had you observed that was a breach of the peace?
I didn't observe any conduct.
What conduct were you investigating that was a breach of the peace?
What's in the report? Stalking, harassing.
Panhandling, City Ordinance number 38, peddling, none of which we can define. I'm talking about 5 seconds into this transcript. You said that you were entitled to ask him for identification.
How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
Because you reasonably suspected he had committed the crime of harassment. And I just want to make sure that there was no other crime that you suspected he might have committed.
I don't know his intentions.
I'm not asking about his intentions, Sergeant Joffrion. I'm asking what you knew. I'm asking exclusively what you knew or suspected at the time that you approached Mr. Gray.
Stalking, harassing, so
You can't answer what information you were trying to obtain.
his basic information, his name, date of birth, all that.
So his name, his date of birth, did you want his address?
No, I didn't want his address.
You had his name on his driver's license, correct? Had his date of birth on the driver's license as well. Even though you said you didn't want his address, that was on the driver's license as well. So for what purpose did you provide his driver's license number to dispatch?
Reason suspicion that is committed crime.
What was dispatch going to do with it?
I don't know.
All right, we can quit beating around the bush, Mr. Joffrey. You provided that number to dispatch so that they could run a background check on Mr. Gray, correct?
Correct.
To see if he had any outstanding warrants, correct?
That was not the sole purpose. No.
I didn't ask if it was the sole purpose. Was it a purpose?
What do you mean?
Did you provide that information to dispatch to determine whether Mr. Gray had any outstanding warrants?
Primarily, or as additional information?
For any reason?
For any reason to arrest him because he had a warrant? I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm asking, I'm still trying to understand why you provided the information to dispatch if you wanted to know who he was and his date of birth, which was in the piece of laminated paper in your hand,
I advise you the reason.
to get his basic information.
Correct.
But you already had his basic information. It was in your hand.
Okay.
So why would you go to another step of providing that to someone else if you weren't trying to run a background check on him?
I did not run a background check on him.
You asked dispatch to do that, didn't they?
No.
They didn't?
No.
You said, I'll give you your ID once it comes back.
This isn't some free will state, man. This is how it is in the state of Mississippi.
So you don't have freedom in the state of Mississippi?
If you don't like it, you can go back to Florida. Period.
All right, well, let me have my ID and I'll go back to Florida.
I'll give you ID once it comes back.
I don't want to go to jail.
Comes back from where?
Dispatch.
So again, what were you waiting on dispatch to come back with?
His information.
What information?
His personal information.
His name
That's what I just said a few minutes ago.
and his date of birth.
Correct.
And if you made it this far, I implore you, mirror this video, do whatever, screenshot it, do whatever you want. Keep this video, like I said at the beginning of the part of this video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any objection to obviously it being recorded, but just for everybody's benefit on here, if somebody's planning to release this or put it on the internet or something like that, then, we're going to file a undue publicity motion. So, a motion for a protective order. So I just want to be clear and put everybody on notice of that. But
If they're claiming that if this video goes out onto the interweb, onto the YouTube and onto the Twitters, and let's mass produce this video and just send it out to the world. Steal this video. I'm not going to hit you with a copyright strike. You can just take this video in its entirety and just send it. I don't care. The only thing I ask is just give me a little respect. Say it came from the armed fisherman. That's as easy as it can go. So, that being said, let's continue.
A few minutes ago.
And his date of birth,
Correct.
which you already had. So what information were you waiting for dispatch to come back with that you did not already have?
So they could log him on a CAD for report purposes.
Now, what is CAD?
I'm not sure.
What is CAD used for?
Reports and along other things.
What other things?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, was a warrant check performed on Mr. Gray?
I don't know. I don't work in dispatch.
Your report says Sergeant Joffrion advised that if he did not leave, that he was going to jail for disorderly conduct. I can play the whole video for you again with Sergeant Joffrion if you'd like.
That's fine.
But at no point in this approximately 5-minute video do you use or ever utter the word disorderly conduct.
Okay.
So would you agree with me that your report is inaccurate when you said that you advised him he was going to jail for disorderly conduct?
No.
Would you, how could that not be inaccurate if you never said the word disorderly conduct?
I don't know.
Do you remember saying the word disorderly conduct in your interaction with Mr. Gray?
It's been over a year ago. I don't remember a lot of things.
I'm sorry, I need a straight answer to that question. Yes or no?
Repeat the question.
Do you remember advising Mr. Joffrion in your interaction that he would go to jail for disorderly conduct?
Do I remember saying that?
Yes.
Yes.
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
Yes.
Do you remember when in this interaction you said that?
No.
Doesn't matter if you commit a crime or not. You have to identify in reference to a complaint because you're violating.
You know, you need to have reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime is afoot. You
Okay,
didn't.
I do have reasonable suspicion. I just instructed you. So,
Vagrancy?
yeah.
What ordinance is that?
City ordinance. Go
Even
look it
though
up.
I've explained to you that I'm
You
engaged
don't
in
need to-
constitutionally
you
protected.
don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care.
What you just said then, it doesn't matter whether you committed a crime or not. You have to identify. Do you believe that to be an accurate statement of the law?
Yes. To the form.
Reword that.
No, I'm not going to reword it.
Then I'm not going to answer it.
Read it back.
You just said there, it doesn't matter whether you committed a crime or not. You have to identify. Do you believe that to be an accurate statement of the law?
Yeah, I have to have reasonable suspicion to identify someone.
Doesn't matter if you commit a crime or not. You have to identify in reference to a complaint because you're violating.
You know, you need to have reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime is afoot. You
Okay,
didn't.
I do have reasonable suspicion. I just instructed you. So,
Vagrancy?
yeah.
What ordinance is that?
He asked you what crime you were investigating. You said vagrancy right there. You heard it, correct? Not harassing, not stalking. You didn't say that.
Okay.
All right. And we've already established that vagrancy is not a crime, correct? So you couldn't have been investigating him for the crime of vagrancy when there is no such crime, correct?
Correct.
Central to Waveland 14.
Go ahead.
10-4, that 27's going to come back to a Marcus Jeffrey, valid, negative 29s, negative 4s.
So, all right, Mr. Jeffrey, you're free to go.
The dispatcher just said something. Negative 29. What did you catch what she said?
Not really.
Let's try to play it back. 29? What does that mean?
You would have that. You would dispatch.
What does negative 4 mean?
You have to with dispatch.
You don't know what it means.
Not at the top of my head, no.
So your testimony today under oath is that when she said, comes back to Marcus Jeffrey, valid, negative 29, negative 4, you did not know what she meant.
I knew what it meant then.
But you don't know what it means today.
No.
Are you still a sergeant with the Waveland Police Department?
Correct.
And so if I called you over the radio or dispatch called you over the radio and said, valid, negative 29, negative 4, you would not know what that means today.
Probably so. Not right now, though.
Why do you not know right now?
Tired.
At the conclusion of the video, you said, I'm giving you a lawful order not to come back. I think we've established that you can't cite to me any law or statute or ordinance that authorize you to provide that lawful order, correct?
Texas form.
Repeat the question.
You can't cite to me any authority that lets you, as a sergeant for the Waveland Police Department, to give a lawful order not to come back to public property.
No.
Is that Waveland Police Department or City of Waveland, Mississippi policy to tell people that they can't return to public property?
Texas form.
No.
On how many occasions have you told someone that they can't return to public property?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
More than once?
I have no idea.
You don't know if you've told any person other than Mr. Gray?
Don't know, sir.
Well, what was your basis for telling Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay there, that he had to leave the property under a lawful order?
I don't recall.
You didn't have any authority to tell Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay or that he had to leave the property, did you?
No,
What is the department's policy on activating the body cams?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
So you don't know when you're supposed to activate them,
I can't recall off the top of my head.
and you're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department.
Absolutely.
You've been continuously employed by Waveland Police Department since May 30th, 2023,
Absolutely.
and you don't know the policy on body cams.
Not off the top of my head.
How can you perform your job as a sergeant and supervisor at Waveland Police Department if you don't know the policy?
I don't know. You tell me.
Have you ever been called to City Hall for a person speaking, demonstrating, engaging in expressive conduct?
I don't.
Other, how many other people have you accused of vagrancy besides Mr. Gray?
I don't recall.
Is it city policy to tell people if you don't like it, you can go back to Florida, period?
I don't recall.
Or how many other people have you told if they don't like it, they can go back to where they came from?
I don't recall.
You said Mississippi isn't some free will state. What is a free will state?
I have no idea.
Well, what did you mean when you said Mississippi isn't a free will state?
I don't recall.
You guys,
This isn't some free will state, man. This is how it is in the state of Mississippi.
so you don't have freedom in the state of Mississippi?
If you don't like it, you can go back to Florida.
What did you mean when you said Mississippi isn't a free will state?
I don't recall.
Other than this report that you have in front of you, consisting of 2 pages, did you write any other reports related to this event?
I don't recall.
Are you aware of any other reports related to this event besides yours and the one from Eddie Hersey?
I don't recall.
Which threats do you think that Mr. Gray made?
I'm not sure.
What training did you have regarding law enforcement in the Air Force?
Basic law enforcement.
And what does that include?
Can't think off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Your training in the Air Force for security forces. Did any of that include training about how to not violate someone's constitutional rights?
What does not valid? What does that have to do with that? I'm confused.
I'm asking about your training and your education
Okay.
on not violating the rights of persons, whether those are due process or constitutionally protected rights of free expression, anything along those lines. I don't know what the Air Force security force training involves. Being a military, I don't know if it has anything to do with training on Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. I'm asking you.
I'm not even sure. That's been years ago. I can't remember what happened yesterday, much less a year ago.
At what point in that history did you go to the Harrison County Law Enforcement Academy?
2018.
You just told me that you didn't know the dates of the Air Force, so I don't know when you got out of the Air Force, and I don't know when you started with the Waveland Police Department the first time. And you told me you didn't know when you worked at the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. So I don't know any of these dates. I need to know in the chronology of those occupations when you went to the Harrison County Law Enforcement Academy.
I'm not sure.
Was it before you started at Waveland?
I could say that again. I'm confused.
Did you go to the Law Enforcement Academy before you worked at Waveland the first time?
Talking about, was I certified?
That's a separate question, but I'm gonna if you want to answer that one now, I'm gonna ask
I'm
you
just
later.
confused by what you're trying to get at.
I'm trying to figure out when you went to the law enforcement academy in relation to your jobs. You told me 2018 twice,
Okay?
but I don't know when you started at Waveland the first time because you can't provide that data.
No, I cannot.
So was it before you started at the Waveland Police Department the first time or after?
Oh, I get what you're saying. The first time.
And when you went to the law enforcement academy, what training did you receive on vagrancy laws,
I can't even remember.
stop and frisk laws?
I never ran over frisk. Stop and frisk.
In what training do you remember?
Patting down subjects for weapons. That's it. No, sir.
Do you remember any training on what was required before you could stop someone and frisk them?
I can't recall, to be honest with you.
Do you recall any training on statutes that were require someone to identify themselves?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training at the Law Enforcement Academy about First Amendment?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training about the Fourth Amendment?
I can't.
What are the Waveland Police Department policies on interaction with the public when they are engaged in expressive conduct?
You have to get with them as far as that.
You're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department, and you don't know the policies on interactions with the public engaged in expressive conduct.
It's not something I study over. I can't recall.
Who would know the policies of the city of Waveland or the Waveland Police Department with regarding to persons engaged in expressive conduct?
I don't know.
Have you taken, since you completed the Law Enforcement Academy, any continuing education courses?
Yes.
Do you have a list of those?
No.
What do you recall?
SWAT school.
Anything else?
Can't recall.
Do you have any continuing education courses on the First or Fourth Amendment?
I can't recall.
Well, I think we went over this, but I didn't write it down. 7 or 8 years total law enforcement experience. Don't know how long at the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. So we can't figure out by subtraction how long you've been at Waveland. Do you recall how long you've been at Waveland?
I don't recall.
During your tenure at the Waveland Police Department, have you been counseled or reprimanded in any way?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I don't recall.
More or less than 10?
I don't recall.
More or less than 100?
I don't recall.
More or less than 1,000?
I don't recall.
What were they for?
One for not checking reports, time management.
You mean, you said not checking them, like proofreading them or not submitting them?
Proofreading, then submitting.
What else?
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
Did you know what his sign said at the time you demanded identification?
No, I did not.
How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
You approached Mr. Gray and asked for identification based on your testimony that you reasonably believed he had committed the crime of harassment or stalking. Is that in accord with Waveland policy?
I don't recall.
Was there anything more that wasn't recorded on the body cam video that we just reviewed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Let me go back to your training and your instruction on behalf of the Waveland Police Department. You approached Mr. Gray and asked for identification based on your testimony that you reasonably believed he had committed the crime of harassment or stalking. Is that in accord with Waveland policy?
I don't recall.
So you don't know if you were acting in accord with police department policy or not?
I don't recall. I don't know the policies off the top of my head. I'm not a genius.
So you can't testify today that you weren't in violation of the policies.
I would have to go look at it, but I know I was doing the right thing.
What experience?
Law enforcement.
Specifically, what experience did you have with individuals holding signs in front of City Hall?
I have no idea. Don't recall.
So what other experience were you relying on in interacting with Mr. Gray?
Law enforcement.
Is this the first time that you had ever been called for somebody who was panhandling?
I don't recall.
Is it a crime to ask people for money?
Not a lawyer. I'll have to go look at the statute book.
Well, you said that would be a violation of city ordinance number 38 in your report. But we can't define, we don't know what city ordinance number 38 is.
You have to get in contact with the investigators.
But I'm asking you about your report. And you can't say whether it is or it isn't a crime to ask people for money.
Don't recall.
Nothing in your training has addressed whether or not asking people for money is a crime.
I don't recall.
What's your understanding of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution?
Yeah, I'm gonna object. You've repeatedly asked this witness to draw legal conclusions.
No, I didn't.
He's not an expert witness. He's a fact witness. If you've got facts to ask him, then ask him the facts. But you're repeatedly asking him to draw legal conclusions, and that's not appropriate.
Your objection is never.
Well, no, it is noted, and you've done it repeatedly, and so I'm trying to avoid having to request a protective order on this. I mean, you know that it's not appropriate to ask these witnesses to draw legal conclusions. It's just not. And you've done it all. What is your understanding of the First Amendment? That's not asking him to draw a legal conclusion. How is that not?
It is asking him what his understanding of the First Amendment is. I did not ask him what does the First Amendment of the United States Constitution protect, provide, or anything else. I asked him about his understanding of it. If he doesn't understand the First Amendment, then he can say that.
You've asked what facts constitute what crimes. You've repeatedly asked him to draw legal conclusions.
I asked him about his knowledge of the crimes that he accused my client.
I want it on the record that I have asked you over and over again to quit asking these witnesses to draw legal conclusions, because that is inappropriate. And if it continues, I'm going to ask for a protective order on it.
I'm going to continue to ask the witnesses what their understanding of the laws that they were enforcing was. If you think that's inappropriate, then we'll have to deal with that.
Well, we can get the transcript and we'll see where it goes, but you can continue, but I want it clear for the record.
That's fair. What's your understanding of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution?
I don't recall. I'm not an expert as far as.
Do you know what the First Amendment protects at all?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution
I don't recall.
protects? Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides regarding the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government?
Don't recall.
Do you know what the Constitution of the state of Mississippi provides regarding freedom of speech and the freedom of press?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides with regard to deprivation of life, liberty, or property without due process of law?
I'm not a lawyer.
I understand that you're a law enforcement officer, not a lawyer. My question was very simple. Do you know?
I don't recall.
Mr. Gray asked you in this video if you had undertaken an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and you responded yes. Do you remember that?
Did you take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when you served?
I absolutely did.
Yeah, and you're not doing that right now.
Okay, that's your
Did you
opinion.
take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when
that
you
is your opinion.
became a cop?
That is your opinion.
Then you're not doing it right now.
That's your opinion.
You guys are a supervisor?
I'm the supervisor.
United States of America, and you responded yes. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And did you also take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Mississippi?
I don't recall.
But you would agree that your oath required you to abide by the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Repeat the question.
You would agree that your oath required you to uphold the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Which oath?
Your oath of office. You took an oath to be a police officer, didn't you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall telling Mr. Gray that you had taken an oath?
I don't recall what a video states.
Do you remember telling Mr. Gray that you don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care?
You don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care.
I don't recall, but if it's on the video, I'll say it.
Would you like to see it?
It's up to you.
And you said that you were there in reference to vagrancy, and you said it was city ordinance, and we've established that's not true. Right.
Who established that?
Well, you already admitted that vagrancy is not a crime.
Correct.
All right. And so it's not a city ordinance.
Okay.
Right?
Don't recall it being in the city ordinance or whether it is or not.
But you said it was. You said vagrancy was in the city ordinance. It's in your interaction. We can agree on that point, right?
Whether it is or that I said it.
That you said it.
That I said it, yes.
We've already established City Hall's public property.
Correct.
Do you know why you denied those two things that we just went over in your answer?
I don't recall.
You ever observed Mr. Gray acting abusively, threatening, or obstructionist to anyone?
Personally observed?
Yes.
No.
Did you observe Mr. Gray harassing or haranguing anyone? Again, personal observation.
No.
When you saw him, the whole time you interacted with him, did he speak at a reasonable volume, typical for someone on a sidewalk?
Explain that.
He wasn't yelling, was he?
His voice is a little agitated, aggravated.
Was it any louder than yours?
No.
Were you agitated?
Oh, absolutely.
Why were you agitated?
Honestly, because I don't want to have to do paperwork to arrest somebody for failure to comply.
So at what point did you become agitated?
When he refused to identify himself.
So like right off the bat, he refused that. You asked him for identification, he denied. You became agitated at that point.
Is that what the video states?
Yes. Would you like to see it? I mean, we can go back. It's in the first 10 seconds.
That's fine.
How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
So what point was that?
I'm not sure.
Did you observe Mr. Gray consuming alcoholic beverages?
No.
All right. Did you observe him creating a disturbance or annoyance?
In my presence, no.
Did you observe him asking anyone for financial support?
In my presence, no.
Is begging for food, money, and stuff like that a crime?
Not a lawyer. Don't recall.
You don't know. The body cam video that we've been looking at has in the top left
Correct.
23/05/30 0946 in 10 seconds. All right. So does that appear to be the time of the event and not the report?
I'm not sure.
You don't know if that report was prepared at the exact moment that this body cam was rolling.
So you're saying that I typed the report as home recording?
That's what I'm asking you, because
No,
you're saying
that's impossible.
So we know that this report wasn't prepared on May 30th, 2023 at 9:46 a.m.
Okay, correct. It'd be afterwards.
And my question that started all this was, do you know when?
No, I don't.
Do you know whether it was the same day, the same week?
It's been over a year ago. I don't know.
Okay. So
I don't keep up with stuff like this.
well, explain the process to me. Down there in the bottom right corner, page 15. No, page in front of me. It says approval date and time, June 15th, 2023 at 9:34 a.m.
Okay.
All right. And that was approved by Mr. Hersey according to the report.
Correct.
So help me understand how this report works its way through the system, because it wasn't printed until July. You prepared it at some point. Your testimony is you don't recall when, whether it was the same day, same week, whatever. How do you prepare this report? You do this in the cruiser on a computer? Do you go back to the police station?
At that time, it was inside the police department.
And is there any log of when you would have prepared this report? Is there any way to determine when you actually prepared this report?
Not that I can recall. I just worked there and typed reports.
You know how your supervisor becomes aware that they need to review and approve this report?
It could be a day later, it could be a week later, it could be a month later.
But do you know how they're notified that there's a report awaiting them?
No.
This incident with Mr. Gray blew up pretty fast.
Absolutely.
Do you recall whether this report was prepared before the widespread attention on the event or after it?
I don't recall.
So you can't testify today whether you prepared this in light of all of the attention that came from the YouTube and the news articles and everything else, or after it.
Truthfully, no.
One of the news articles about this event said that the police department or the city or both, I don't know, was conducting an internal investigation. Were you part of that internal investigation?
I have no idea. I don't watch news.
That's not what I asked Mr. Sergeant Joffrion. Were you part of an internal investigation?
As far as I know, no.
Did anyone from the police department or the city come and interview you about what had happened?
No.
Did anyone provide you with the results of an internal investigation?
No.
Did you receive any sort of counseling or discipline as a result of this event with Mr. Gray?
Why would I? No.
Other than the mayor, did you discuss this with anyone else after Mr. Gray left?
I'm sure I did.
Who?
Everyone. I don't recall.
Who's
Bunch of
everyone?
people. I've had so many people approach me about it. I don't recall everyone.
Well, tell me the ones that you do recall.
Eddie Harrison.
All right. Who else?
My chief.
Who's your chief?
Michael McGrath. Mike McGrath.
And who else?
I don't recall after that.
So a bunch of people, but you can recall three.
Yeah. Most important, my supervisors.
Who is Ronnie Arquiguez?
City lawyer, I believe. I'm not sure. Attorney.
Who's Lisa Ladner?
I'm not sure.
Who is Aaron Halsey?
I'm not sure.
Who is Julie Bromwell?
I'm not sure.
Who is Christine Beck?
I'm not sure.
Who is Brenda Pickens?
I'm not sure.
Do you recall speaking to any of those people, Wagner, Aaron Halsey, Bromwell, Beck, or Pickens,
Never. Say that again?
before Mr. Gray?
Okay.
Did you ever receive any instruction from the city or the police department about how to interact with persons who are engaged in expressive conduct at City Hall?
I don't recall.
I know I asked this about the First Amendment, but did you receive any training from your department on the protection of rights guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment?
I don't recall.
So you don't recall the frequency of the content of any such training?
I don't remember.
Do you recall the department ever holding whether it was a formal or an informal gathering or circulating even a memo on a bulletin board about protecting people's constitutional rights?
I don't recall.
Whether it was a formal or an informal gathering or circulating even a memo on a bulletin board about protecting people's constitutional rights?
I don't recall.
You had had no training on how to handle a public demonstration?
I don't recall.
You do not recall any policies on public demonstrations?
I don't recall.
You've already established that you told Mr. Gray that a citizen can't get body cam footage and that's not accurate. Why did you tell him
Object
that?
to the form that is not what anybody says.
I don't recall.
What is your department's policy on review of body cam footage?
I don't recall.
How many times have you watched this video?
I don't recall.
Have you gone to Mr. Gray's YouTube channel?
Don't recall.
Have you read any of the comments on Mr. Gray's YouTube channel?